Hello. This week I'm going to share with you what we're reading this week and what I've prepared on our shelves for our shelf work. Our reading for history is Arabian Nights. For literature, we're reading Stone Soup. For science, we're reading The Puzzle Under the Sea, which is about plate tectonics. And for nature study, we are revisiting or still on snowflakes because we did not get to that last week. So I have, that still is all prepared from last week. Okay, so for Arabian Nights, it's a break week, so there actually isn't any activity or anything planned. No journaling, none of that, because we're still kind of in the same region that we were in last week. So I still have our block set out, and this will probably stay beyond that unit. So I have that out just for open-ended play while we read. For our literature study, we're doing Stone Soup, and so I just have a basket of various play food that we've received either as gifts or whatever acquired over the years, and then just a set of pots and pans and cooking utensils for them. For science, plate tectonics, our curriculum has some really cool ideas. They all involve food or being outside. And so right now it's snowing. We live in upstate New York. So one of them involves mud, which we don't have right now because everything's frozen and snowy. And then the other ones involve food, and I try not to do a lot of I don't like experiments with food. One, because we're vegan, so sometimes it's hard to find the appropriate replacements for our values. And two, because I don't like to do a lot of food waste. And so I tried to come up with something. And because if we have the food, it's not something that they can do over and over again. And so, so I came up with a way to present the same idea without food and without mud. So I have just these like wooden slats we made for our kids a few years ago for Christmas, and then kinetic sand. And so the experiment is showing them that the plates, which are not connected, are all laid upon because the surface under the earth, right, isn't solid. It just shows them how our plates can move and change easily, making mountains, rifts, making valleys, all of that kind of stuff. So that's for them to just sort of explore and see how our planet is shifting and changing, and the continents are moving, and it connects with our book that we're reading. Our art study is still the same from last week. Last week we had kind of a funky week, so we did not spend a lot of time up in here, so I'm leaving it out for another week. If we don't get to it this week, we're moving on. I usually don't leave. Usually if it doesn't get much attention, it just means that I haven't prepared something that is of interest to them, and so I'm not going to leave it out, and I'll kind of change it up. And then again, I'll just go over, in case you didn't see my video from what we had out last week, pipe cleaner snowflake. This was a big hit, so I think it will continue to be used this week. And then just little beads to slide over each of the little like prongs of it. And then a light board, which you could also do with like black paper and loose parts for them to build snowflakes. And then nature anatomy book with just examples of snowflakes. This also was a big hit last week. And so I see it being used again. So those are our family study topics. For our individual study, which is on the bottom, for my almost 4-year-old, he's working on quantities 1 to 10. And last week I had a puzzle that so it had like the number on one side and then the quantity on the other, and he matched them up. So those were like pre-made already there. He just had to be able to count what was there. So that's like pretty concrete. And then, so with the Montessori philosophy, you're moving from the most concrete aspect all the way to the most abstract. And so as they progress through concepts and then through the math curriculum in general, it will continue to become more abstract, more mental math, being able to kind of do it in your head instead of touching it, feeling it, etc. So he had the puzzle, and then he had counters with the numbers. So he was physically moving and putting the counter with the amount of numbers, and it was self-correcting because there were only 55 counters. And so that's like one counter for each number, right? So the exact amount. He gets to the end and there's no more. And so if he goes to make 10, or he goes to make his last number and he runs out of numbers, then he knows that maybe there's something somewhere that it shouldn't be. This is less self-correcting. So we're moving more and more and more into kind of the abstract, or like not self-correcting work. So I have just written the numbers from 1 to 5. I've only done 1 to 5. I have 6 through 10, depending on how he does with this. 6 through 10, if he is like, does it, no problem, great, then we'll move on. And then a stamp pad and a little stamp for him to do the one-to-one correspondence. So how many? 1, put 1, 2, put 2. So 1 through 5 for that. Real simple, easy work. We are still doing the color-coded sound game. I haven't added this. I want to give him a little bit more time, and then I will just add the next letter in, which I either have to find or reprint, because I was considering adding it and I couldn't find it. So that's another motivator as to why we're not really changing that. For my oldest, this is something that I made. So I just, on Canva, I just went in and searched flashcards and found one that looked nice and made this pretty simply. So I using our reading curriculum, the words that we're going to be working on in the reading curriculum, I just put on little flashcards. And so I'm going to hide them. I made 2 sets. And so one set is in the basket on the shelf. The other set I'm going to hide around the room. And we'll do it together probably the first couple times. He loves games like this. And I anticipate my youngest being interested in wanting to play this in some way too. We play it with a lot of different subjects, and just like no subject, we hide stuff and go find it. Hide and seek. Very fun. And so we'll say the word out loud, look at the word, read it, and then he'll have to go around the room and try to find the word that matches the word on his card. So that is what our reading extension will be. And then his math extension, his lesson in math this week is, we're still working on missing add-ins for sums of 10. And so we're doing it with money this week, which will be really fun because, he loves money. I anticipate that we'll play store, which I just have numbers with the $sign written, and we just put them on things on the shelves, and then they go around, and we usually will use our math beads instead of money. Sometimes we use money, but we'll, and we play store, and I'm either the cashier and they pay me, and then we take turns, and I'm the shopper and they're the cashier. So that's a fun way to to do like the exchange of money. So this is an extension of that, and this is just Go Fish for sums of 10. So instead of you give 5 cards to one person, 5 cards to the other person, and then spread the rest out on the ground and pick up. And if you have 2 numbers that equal 10, then you can cast them off. And so the tray itself, the tray itself is just 10 counters, just in case. I have these with like most of our games that we play, just in case we need the extra help. And then the cards 1 through 10, 2 sets of those cards just in a little tray like that. And yeah, so those are our shelves this week. If you want to kind of follow along with us as we study and do our work throughout the week, I share a lot as we go, kind of in real time on Instagram and my stories, and I share a lot. I will also share this in a blog format with pictures of the work and a short explanation, and then a picture of the corresponding books that we're reading as well. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you have not already watched my video on what I consider when I'm creating this shelf work, that video is going to be linked at the end of this one. So if you haven't already watched that, I encourage you to watch it, because it really, I go through everything that I think about, from like what qualities I think the work needs to have, all the way to like how I prepare it, what I consider, all of that stuff. So and the process of like gathering materials and how I set them up on the tray, all of that. So definitely check that out if you're interested in more of like how and why I do it this way. So I hope you guys have a great week, and I look forward to seeing you next week and sharing what we're studying.